Hello everyone, I'm Overhaul and today we'll be doing a video on One Punch Man Volume 10. The usual disclaimer at the beginning of the videos. I am not a kid specific channel. Even though the topics I discuss might look like they are for kids, they are most likely not because I'll either start talking about things that are too graphic, too mature, or just use words that kids are not supposed to hear. So if you're a kid, I would advise you to not watch this. Everyone else, let's go on. Now, I will try to not go into my fanboy love for Tatsumaki because of the current horror movie that Netflix wants people to watch, which how the hell do you make a movie more disgusting than a horror movie where it's, you know, blood and guts? Like, how is that less disgusting than that? But needless to say, I'll try to keep myself out of that phase. So let's get in with this. Now, this volume of the story is more to do with Garo and continuing with that, as well as the beginning of the Monster Association arc. So yeah, we got introduced to a lot of new characters, which is, from what I'm understanding of One Punch Man, a pretty regular thing. Like a lot of the series will mostly just have a lot of characters and very awesome fights, as well as the artwork. Like, my god, I mean, I know there are pages in the volume which are basically like just fight and then maybe like one line of dialogue, like maybe just a character naming one of their attacks, but just artwork amazing. I mean, I'm not sure if there is like a listing of their rankings or if is it anything been stated, but I would say Murata is one of the best artists out there. I mean, I'm sure there are series that come are very close to it, but Murata is on a whole new level. I think most people already know that, but in this one it's very apparent. So let's go through the characters first. Let's start with the main character Saitama. In this volume, he doesn't really do much, and considering how the anime adaptation took, I'm guessing that's also the case for the next couple of volumes. Because in this volume, all he really does is he actually finds interest in the martial arts. He finds Gao interesting on how apparently there's so many heroes, so many of them so powerful, and yet they all fell. Well, that's interesting him, and he expects him to come and hunting him once. So he decides to find out more about martial arts. There is where we have Bang's disciple, his top disciple, tell Charanko, telling him about the martial arts tournament, and he goes there to participate. He doesn't do much. We basically just get some more information about Garo and some of Bang's former students named Sourface. But that's pretty much it when it comes to his part of the story. There's not much with him. Much with him outside of that. Generals, there's just a little bit of a comedy scene with him thinking that Satama wants to get hair back, which is very hilarious, and that seems to be like his top priorities are right now. So, yeah. Of course, as we get some other characters to appear in this one, I mean, we get Moomin Rider, Tank Top Master, Metal Bat, and a bunch of others. But most of them are just nothing characters. Like, I was discussing Metal Bat since honestly, his parts in the story is amazing. Like, how he like fights two Tiger Frats, beats them no effort, which is something I feel like an S-Class hero should be able to do. I think that's just more there to confirm, yes, S-Class heroes can wipe out his Tiger Frats with zero effort in instant. Not just Tatsumaki, which, funny enough, even though Tatsumaki is on the cover of the volume, she doesn't really appear in this volume. I mean, the only time she appears in is in her, in her, I guess, filler extra comic pages where she has a day off and she's so bored because she has nothing to do. So the other day she just has to goes around, looks for a monster to kill, to a point that even a hot dog, a monster that's a tiger level threat that's pretty much worthless, is enough to satisfy her, just so she can kill a monster. Which that's pretty much it for Tatsumaki in the story, if we're being honest. I guess it kind of shows how empty her life is outside of her hero work. But yeah. Anyways, back to the topic of Metalbat. Metalbat also then fights two demon level threats, which is he is shown to have trouble with them because they are doing a lot more. For instance, they actually are hurting him, while the other two seem like they didn't even get the chance to touch them. So he's fighting both of them, but he ends up defeating both of them in one shot. Now, granted, this was power up Metalbat, so you can make the argument that it's the power up that really got him to beat the two. If his base form, he wouldn't be able to one shot them, but it doesn't really matter. He one shots them, so yeah. Now, after he defeats two demon level threats, then the new monster named Sentichoro shows up. Sentichoro, from what it looks like, it doesn't really have much to do. He shows up at the end, just there. It's kind of like the two heroes that show up, Pineapple and Mohawk, or whatever their names were. He's just there, nothing more in this volume. So yeah. Now to the main character, who I would say is the one that really stole the show, and this volume is more focused on, is Garo. So yeah, now Garo is Silverfang's the strongest disciple, I would say. It's even mentioned in the volume that he was number 1 when he was working under Silverfang. Now we find out a lot of things about him. Like we find out that it's kind of like Stain, but a bit different in a way, where he goes around and does take the whole hero work seriously. Like when he sees one of the executives from the Hero Association like bragging, "Oh yeah, I fight on the front lines of the Hero Association sent by funding them. It's all for the keeping of the peace, obviously." And he's like, "Dude, you are nothing. You're just some fat rich idiot who the Hero Association has to work for because they can't make money other ways." Like we get that, and we also get some kind of like show that he's not a bad guy by Mina K, and instead of being a bit rude to the kid, it does seem it's shown that he doesn't hate him outright, because he acts to him nice, and is generally pretty good to the kid. I mean, he does insult him by calling him a brat, but anyway, it's nothing extreme. We also find out that he likes monsters because he finds them cool, which is something that I feel like a lot of people would probably think that. I mean, let's be fair here. A lot of monsters in My Hero in One Punch Man look pretty cool. I don't know, even monsters like Dust Ass, which pretty much get nothing, still look pretty cool, or it does also have the rack. But yeah. So besides that, we also get to see how powerful and generally how things go with him. With Garo. Like he'll go around, find out where a hero could be, where the hero will most likely be, track them down and beat them in whatever way he could. For example, in this one, he first fights Golden Ball and Spring Mustachio, two heroes who've been already introduced previously. Now, the Spring Mustachio and Golden Ball seem to be like this go-to an average A-class hero, kind of like Lightning Max, Stinger, and Snake, where the two are shown to be strong. In fact, Garo even comments on Spring Mustachio saying that if this was a more even fight. Like if I didn't know, or not exact the words, but if I didn't know what your ability was, and if the weakness of your ability wasn't literally in a alleyway where it's more limited range, where your tactic to beat me is pretty obvious, where it's first to force me to jump so you can then strike me, it would be a more even fight. It is showing they're pretty capable fighters in their own right. Now it's also, so we still get Garo saying that yeah, he's cocky, but until someone can be it, he'll get as cocky as he wants to. Which is nice to see that he admits that he's cocky, even though he admits that could be a flaw, but until he gets defeated, he'll be cocky. He also explains that right now, the reason he targeted these two right now was because the fact they are weapon users, and previously he mostly fought people that used fists in their fight. I mean, Tank Top Army is pretty much made of fist fighters since they only have their tank top. Moomin Rider is also pretty much a fist fighter. Maybe he uses bike to just to slam people, but that's it. Chanraku is a martial artist, and yeah, I don't have no idea what Chanraku really thought he could do. I'm in that fight, but yeah. And then even the three heroes who are a little more variant of their combat, being Blue Flame, super heavy loincloth, I believe, and something on magic. Overall, I mean, except magic, they all two seem like physical fighters, so it makes sense that he will actually try to get on some certain stage, like first fist fighters, then people with more weaponry, and then, well, the S-Class apparently, since his literal next target after defeating the Tank Top Master and 2A class is defeat the guy who's now all around the world as the strongest man. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I'm guessing that he kind of expected that he could lose to King, but just didn't think of it right now. But yeah, go. So that's pretty much it on the character side of things. Now the chapters are very short. They're basically just encounters and battles and comedy. That's it. That's it. So let's talk about more in detail the extra comics, extra chapters. I already told you about Tornado's Day Off, which I would say is the best one, purely because Tornado. I'm sure that the reason why people like Fubuki more than Tatsumaki is because of Fubuki is, they're well made, but but I prefer Tatsumaki. So yeah, there are three of them in this volume, which is why this volume is so much, well, more fatter than, has more material in it than a regular volume would. So the other two are, one is basically a hero costume contest where Saitama basically gives his clothes to a kid, then he puts something super dorky on, and then he has to defeat a monster. I mean, he may have the dorkiest outfit, but he's more competent than any other hero that was there. But I'm pretty sure most of those heroes were A, or not A even, I think B and C. But yeah, it was pretty much just that. Now the final comic is the one I'm really curious about, because we get introduced to basically the power scaler in One Punch Man world, with Shaw Emperor made a mask that could see how strong someone is physically. Now, it's dismissed by Child Emperor at the end of the chapter. If it's only gonna count by physical strength, it might not be that much of a help in a battle, since people like Tatsumaki and Fubuki will be ranking lower, even though they can literally level buildings with their psychic powers. Then there are people like King who are so high, which I just love how Child Emperor's reaction was when seeing Saitama with him being scanned. It says it can't scale, and he's like, huh, maybe the reason why you are, this means you're so weak that you can't be power scaled. Like that executive guy who Child Emperor talks to in the beginning, but then he scans skiing, and also as an example when he's like, you must be so strong that I can't power scaling you. So basically, a guy who managed to get from the bottom of the C class to almost the top of B class in a pretty short amount of time, and probably has it the reasons somewhere on the files. It's obviously that he's so weak, so insanely weak that he can't be skilled. But a guy whose only real claim is the fact that he happens to be on the same area as the monsters when they're destroyed, and he's seemingly the only one there. Not thinking that person who could beat them one way quickly is the strongest. I mean, does it even make any sense for Child Emperor? I mean, Jonathan might be a genius when it comes to inventing things, but he really sucks in some basic logic. But yeah. Now, I think that mask might come into play later on the line, especially with some of the events that are going on in the webcomic. Because the thing is, a mask that allows you to scan a person's physical strength is still quite impressive and quite necessary to battle. Especially if it's not especially if it's researched and modified in a better way. Because, well, think about it. Knowing average monsters don't really have psychic abilities or any other types of abilities. And even if they do have, some of them will probably have something like laser eyes or stronger swipes or something like that. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Like, there's a bit of a scene where Fubuki wants Saitama to join, but he just doesn't have any interest in that. And then she has them like compete with one another to, if he wins, he gets them to do one thing. If she wins, they have to do what she orders them. And he's like, alright, go get your group and show up. And Saitama comes the next day, and he has like a bunch of ass classes with him. Like, he has the strongest man, King. He has the demon cyborg, the newest and the most recent ass class. He has Bang, the number 3, the guy who quite literally might be physically, or the guy who could be one of the best ass classes. Is one of the best ass classes. I'm not sure how do S class ranks among themselves. I'm sure there's a ranking video somewhere. I think Zuhoni did one. But yeah. Like, all these beasts, and they're like, oh shit. Like, the Blizzard group is aware of their plan. Like, I don't think any of them was like, oh, thank God, we aren't actually going to be fighting these four monsters. But yeah, it's kind of funny how this went. And it's also funny how that champion managed to defeat 3 people easily. One of them being unaware of this types of things. One of them just destroying the controller. And Saitama, I think his gaming is also mostly made for comedy. And then King shows up and defeats his champion. And defeats the entire Blizzard bunch. So yeah. Oh, there's also an extra page where we have Fubuki and Tatsumaki shopping for hoodies. But that's just a joke. Like, even the art style is jokey. But yeah. That's pretty much it for the volume. It's a pretty short but a very fun read. I feel like if you would buy it and read it, you could definitely like be impressed by the fight as well as having a good chuckle. Which is, from what I understand, pretty much what One Punch Man is. Awesome fights and good little chuckles. So yeah, Now, anyways, I hope you liked this video. I hope you're gonna leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos in the future. That's it. I cannot wait to see all people next time. Bye.